Hi guys, welcome to another video. So today I thought what would be really nice is to share with you the sketchbooks that I have been working in for the last couple of years. I realised on my channel that I only have a bumper sketchbook tour from 2018, so I realised that I probably am overdue actually having a sketchbook tour. So the sketchbooks I'm going to show you today will be from 2019 to 2020, and I'll save my 2021 until we come to the end of the year. So let's just have a quick look at what I have here. So I've got 3 Moleskines. They are all full. I've got one kind of A5, quite a thin sketchbook. This isn't full but was used when I did my artist residency back in 2020. I have got a video on that. And then these are little concertina zine kind of sketchbooks, handmade sketchbooks that I made to accompany workshops, but I thought you might like to see these. Oh, and this one is also a concertina one, which was related to the Pure artist residency. And then this little one isn't full, but it's got some really nice little sketches from when I had to go in quarantine after I had filmed my Domestica course, and I travelled to Madrid, and then on my return to the UK I had to stay in quarantine for 2 weeks, and every day I sketched my day, and I thought you might actually like to see those sketches as well. I hope you will enjoy having a look inside my sketchbooks. This might not be interesting to everyone, so that's fine, but those of you who do like having a good look inside another artist's sketchbooks, then I think you're going to enjoy this time that we have together. Okay, so here we have my first sketchbook from 2019. This is a Moleskine sketchbook. It's a little bit slimmer than A5 and got very smooth pages. I find it's quite versatile, and you'll see that I can use different media on it and the paper stands up to it. So at this point I was still using my brush pen a lot to just go out and sketch with, and then was combining it with watercolours. This was a map that I actually did a workshop from. We were looking at doing maps in our sketchbook, and maps especially of our local area. So this is the local village, and so we've got some key spots around the village which I thought was really nice to include. So we've got some old buildings, character buildings, we've got a church, the gardens, also some veg that is produced. So it's just quite a nice way to capture your area. I was also doing some lettering as well and teaching on that, so we did a few different styles, and I wanted to show how many different styles you could have. This is another map of the area, and it's just towards the coast. So this was of my bag that I had received from Moleskine. They had sent me a bag actually for free, but in return I kind of did or made a sketch and explore video, which you'll see on the channel. I think
there's no one else here apart from
it's from 2019, that one.
There might be a few people.
I went out to Brodanic. I really enjoyed filming that and sketching. Yeah, these are from that time. It's quite interesting reading this and remembering. So I had purchased a sailor fountain pen. I'd received it and I was just wanting to try it out. I remember it took a while to arrive from Japan, but a really good price. But I really did enjoy using this pen. Obviously I was still just doodling. This is another subject matter that I enjoyed sketching at the time, and that was my breakfast. It's just a really fun exercise to do, particularly if you want to fill your pages and try out different things. So yeah, this was a coffee morning, me sketching what was in front of me, but also my sketchbook. So it was quite funny. You can have a never-ending sketchbook. These were actually plants that I was looking after for a friend while she was away on holiday, so I was going and watering the plants, keeping an eye on them. When I went to the garage to pick up our car, I decided to wait in the waiting room, and this was the waiting room. A lot of glass, so this was all red glass here, and the floor was all green. So it was quite a challenging drawing to try and capture everything. Mainly he was using watercolours and a bit of the black sailor pen. This was at a friend's house that we were going round to have a Good Friday meal. I was trying to just capture people doing things. And this was actually the meal that we had. It was a Passover meal. I just actually quite like the way that you can label things up. That's quite a nice, interesting thing to do with your sketching. This was a friend's living room. They live in an old converted chapel, so the ceilings are really, really tall, and they had this kind of really old, I think it's a leopard skin on the wall. I think it's something, over 100 years old, something like that. But they have a fabulous dresser with all sorts of plates and things, and it was just a nice challenge to try and get all of that detail in. Oh, this was a favourite view, walking across the coastal path. I just really loved this garden, so I wanted to capture it one time. These are little sketches, quick sketches of people and their wares, so at the Porthleven Food Festival. I just thought it would be a great opportunity to try and capture people and also what they were selling. So this is the Kerno sausage guy who just looked really interesting, and I just wanted to draw him. Yeah, Baker Tom guy and his bread. What I really liked was all of this bread here and the labels. And then this guy, he was selling Italian ice cream, and again had interesting features. This is a fun exercise to do. If you can't think of something to do, just get an apple, and then as you eat it, just draw it each time you eat it until you're left with just the core. You might recognise this from last week's video, because I was talking about having a workshop at Halligan's Garden. So this were the succulents that were in one of the greenhouses. And then we've got a bit of the wisteria, a bit more of the garden, and the palms are all over. And you can see that how I've split up the page in boxes, or going into detail, or just capturing things. Now this was at the Wireless Marconi Centre. It was specially opened up. I think there was an artist. Oh yeah, there was an artist who was leading us in a think it was pastel paper workshop. But I thought I'd bring my sketchbook anyway, and so once we had done the workshop I was able to stay on, and I just sketched some of the old equipment, and it was just really fascinating actually, and really interesting to capture. And you can see I'm still using my sailor pen at this point. Yes, so this was when we went down to the beach and did a lot of beach cleans during this time, and I started actually using the Ecoline markers. I wanted to test them out and see what they were like, and they're really nice actually to work with. So we're back in Porth Leven here, again just capturing little snapshots of the village. And here we are at a really nice centre. It's called Barton. It's got a gallery space, and then they've got lovely gardens and wildflower meadows. I think it was old barns that were converted. And this was not far from Barton actually. If you walk down you get to a place called Helford, and some really beautiful spots there. Just quick sketches. These are mostly watercolour and pencil, coloured pencil. So it's back in the garden of the friend that I was watering the plants of. This time I decided to sketch the greenhouse and some of the other items around there. So yeah, I really enjoyed sketching this greenhouse. That was another angle of the greenhouse, and then all of her garden beds. She also has a pond as well, so this was the pond and the lily pad. And now this was, I've put here sketch workshop down at Pill Creek, so very quick sketch, but I can show you. This was the sketch journal that we produced from the day, so I'll just show you, move that up there, show you what it is. So I made these journals with a cover, and you can put, you know, your title there, and then inside these concertina pages, which is a really nice way actually to present a place that you're sketching. So you can see I've got really close-up detail of some of the rocks and the shells and the seaweed that were found in that area, and then a view of the area. That was one of the dogs, Mr. Bingley. Some of the boats and another view, and then on the other side some more boats. Got some food, camping, because it's a great little spot to just relax and eat together, so it's nice to put. And then finally you've got a little map of the area itself, so I thought you might like to just see that, give you some ideas perhaps of doing a special sketching journal. Great for if you're going camping, or if you're going away and you just want to capture something and have its own space to put it in. So yeah, so here's Bachim. This is one of the cottages on the estate. I think there was open studios during this time. And here's Bachim Manor itself. And I just love this old house. And actually later on in August, so this was in May, later on in August I ran a workshop in the house and the gardens, and I'll show you that in a minute, what we produced from that. So yeah, that year I remember I did go on a little trip with some ladies, went up to a conference and I took my sketchbook with me, so this was in the back of the van. Interesting drawing in a moving vehicle. I get a little bit car sick, so yeah, it was a bit tricky. And then we were in an auditorium, and I hadn't ever sketched an auditorium, so that was a bit of a challenge to try and capture, you know, a dark space with lots of people, give the impression of, you know, it being full. So that was a challenge. These are just some of the spots around the place. And yeah, that's Tony, my husband. I think we were waiting for something. And these two ladies, it's funny, this is definitely too big, she's definitely too big, and they're not quite right, but I still quite like the facial features here. This was at Tremony Gardens, another beautiful garden, and just thought I'd capture different elements of the garden. I really like this style of sketchbooking. It just looks more interesting than just having one fixed image. It's like you've got little bits here and there and then labels of what it is. This was when I wanted to just use the Ecoline pens on their own, so they're brush pens with Ecoline water-soluble ink, and then they can be diluted with water. But they also really are quite vibrant. They're like a felt tip but on steroids, so if you've ever used them you will know what I mean by that, because the ink comes out and it's really, really juicy. So I think I was just challenging myself to just use them and capture some fruits. These were actually from a cookbook, so I was looking at images in a cookbook and then decided to try and draw them. We're back, this is in Halligan's garden, so I think I did a couple of recce trips there just to draw what was there. Oh, and then this was a play that was set in someone's garden in Mullion. They had this amazing garden where it just seemed to suit like the stage of a play, and it was called Bottom's Dream, and it was really, really lovely production. So I was sketching whilst we were waiting for the play to start, and then once it started I decided to try and capture all the characters. So that was quite a challenge actually, because obviously they were moving a lot and I wasn't using, you know, a photo to draw from, so I was just trying to quickly capture the characters. And these little fairies, I quite like these. And these were the females who were listening. So yeah, that was quite an interesting, challenging, that was quite a challenge actually. So another thing I like to capture in sketchbooks is what I eat. So this was actually lunch at Halligan's. And it's a nice thing to do actually, especially if you're on your own and you know, you might feel a bit self-conscious, but it's actually really enjoyable just to sketch what you're eating. A couple of pages which look a bit empty to me. So these were little puppies of a dog called Bramble. Bramble is a dog that belongs to a friend of ours. And so in the summer, in June, Bramble had 7 little puppies, and we went over and drew them they were a couple of days old, and I thought I'll just try and sketch them. So it's nice actually to have that record in the sketchbook. And this is the final page, just of Mullion Cove. Was combining the brush pen with watercolour and some watercolour pencils. It's interesting looking at this because it's not how I am sketching at the moment, so it's just interesting to see how I was working at this point. So that was 1st of July. That's that book. So this one, July 2019 to November. So in our village there are quite a lot of different activities. So this was the Mullion Horticultural Society, and they had their annual horticultural show. So this was the awards ceremony, and I decided to go along and try and capture some of the things. In this one, attempted quite a few different subjects. So you've got the plants, flowers, and then people, and these trophies behind. These were just little studies of the submissions to the show and then their prizes. So this was first prize, beans and potatoes. I really enjoyed drawing this one, especially this carrot that got first prize. Yeah, I went to Goon Hilly, which is in the middle of the Lizard. It looks quite barren. It almost looks like desert shrubland. And I remember drawing this because this featured in a short film that I made, and you can see it on my channel. It's about what sketching means to me, and this is just the image. This image here was what I drew. But I do find the landscape is so inspiring around that area. And this was another double page from that time. You can see again I was using my fountain pen, so the Sailor fountain pen, with a combination of the watercolour and then the watercolour pencils on top. This was when I went to Lapa Valley. I had just received a commission from them to redo the maps for them, for their site maps. So I went up and spent the day there just exploring and seeing what was there. So I decided to take my sketchbook and just sketch some of the different areas. So they have like these steam engines, and you ride into the park on the steam engine, and this one was called Zebedee. And then actually at the park area there's a pond, so there were some swan pedalos and an old mine building. Yeah, so it was really nice actually to capture this, as well as, you know, do the commission. This was back in Porthleven. I think this was actually from a workshop that I was doing, so I can see actually that this was one of the exercises I get them to do, where we just use one colour. And this one was actually putting the watercolour down first and then drawing on top. This was a view inside another friend's house in their hallway. I just really loved all of the paraphernalia that was in that hallway. This is down in Mullion Harbour. Put there the Mullion, the weather was close, 24th of the 7th. Interesting because it is time of filming this, we're in the middle of a heat wave, so it is really, really warm at the moment. This was at Kynance Cove, and I really, really loved drawing this picture, and especially these bushes here and the cottages. They're old abandoned cottages. So this was another Porthleven sketch walk. Oh, and then this is when I took shelter. It was raining, and I took shelter in a plant shop called In Bloom and met the lady Lisa, who runs In Bloom. And it's interesting because that's where I built a relationship with her, and I then ran some workshops at In Bloom. So yeah, that was one of the activities we did in the shop, drawing one of the plants. and I was using, I used gouache to do this, so this is the first time actually I was using it in my sketchbook. That's, yeah, just a day of working, so I just thought I'd sketch my computer and chair. We went to Tremony Gardens, another garden. I really like this spread, the little boxes, and then the long one that goes across. This was an interesting, called Raymond's Egg and Veg Store, and I just really liked all of the signs that are outside his store. Went to Falmouth for a workshop, and actually a workshop that I was attending, but I took my sketchbook to sketch this alleyway. And yeah, this was another sketch workshop in Porthleven. So I was using this sketchbook quite a bit to do my workshops from. I now have separate sketchbooks for that. This was back in Mullion, and I thought I'd paint out my colour palette and then use it. Now this is when I received or had bought some Daniel Smith watercolours, and yeah, I decided to test them all out, and you'll see maybe from now I switched to using these watercolours. You might see then the colours looking a little bit different. This lady is such a character in Porthleven, Helen. And yeah, this was a beautiful house in the Lizard Village, full of plant pots, decorations, you know, just covered top to bottom. Did take me a while to do. Went up to Hale, which is close to St Ives, and decided to sketch. This is the old Foundry Chapel, and then some of these were some of the businesses that were in this chapel. I think that was just, I'm just going to draw whatever's in front of me. Ah yeah, this was in Godolphin House. And then this was when I went to visit Leap Design Studio. I've worked with them for about 10 years, doing freelance work for them. So they had moved into the new building, or new for them. And I thought I'd just capture some of the things that they had around their studio. That was in Newquay. And then this was in Helston. Beautiful, really beautiful pine tree, and then a statue. I think this was in Helston Museum. I think my idea was to come back and do some more, but I must have forgotten. Lots of signs. If you don't know what to draw, that's another good thing to draw. Go and draw the signs that you see around you. This was when it was really rainy or mizzly, and I decided to continue drawing, and you can see the effect. It's like this mottling effect. This was a very stormy day, windy day. Actually, this is the day that I met Natasha Newton and her fiance Dominic. Natasha is an artist, a landscape artist. Her style is very charming and folky. She has got a YouTube channel, and we met not at the church, but we met in Hillseffron Inn, and they were on holiday in Cornwall, and I got in touch and we chatted, and then it's actually when I asked her to do our creative catch-up podcast together. So that was in I think it was October of 2019. So I didn't take any pictures of her, but I do remember I was drawing some of the glass in the inn. This was down at Porthhallow Village Hall. Coverack. I think that was from another sketchbook class. We were looking at some natural things. That was a little morning routine. Just 2 minutes sketching different aspects of what I do in the morning. You can see, I think, cleaning teeth, making a smoothie, juice or something, breakfast, and packing my bag. I was back at Coverack. I think I was sketching my things. Oh yeah, I remember now, this was actually because I was doing a workshop at Coverack and we were looking at creative ways to fill sketchbooks. So I was giving some examples. I can't remember why I did this, but I like it. I think I was just wanting to do a flower spread. Ah yes, this was a telephone box, so Sapling and Bud, which I think you saw with that lady Helen. Sapling and Bud, yeah, that's her stall, although Helen isn't the owner or anything, but Sian, there's a lady called Sian who owns Sapling and Bud, but she also filled this telephone box, which is in Morgan, with all of her plants and some prints as well, and I really loved it. It's just a really nice thing to sketch, so interesting, and then all those greens as well. Oh yeah, I found a dead butterfly tortoiseshell, so I kept it in a matchbox and then drew it. I think that is actually gouache. And then these were some shoes that I bought on eBay. Remembrance Sunday. And yeah, that I was just stood right at the back and I just wanted to capture all the people. Again, a very quick sketch, but I think it captures the atmosphere, just kind of quite reflective. This was a cream that I'd started using actually because my hands were really suffering because I have eczema, and during the colder months it gets particularly bad, so I was looking for a cream to use, and this one, and is a cream that I still use, is very good. It's in Falmouth, very light study, in the Lizard Lighthouse, and I think that's it. Okay, so before I show you my 2020 sketchbook, I'll show you this, another concertina handmade sketching thing. This was from Sketching at Bachim. Again, just show you how this looks. So there's a cover. So inside I've put a little bit of the history when it was made, and a little quote, and then again the historical line of Bachim. That's the back, and that's the side, and then just like the other one, so this was the inside, So we've got the tiled floor, the old wooden door, music room, like little faces. And then on the other side I've got the outdoor spaces. So the lettuces, and you can see the house in the background there. Some of the wildlife. The flower patch. So yeah, again, just really nice, I think, this way of having a visual reminder, a visual diary of a certain place, a special place. So yeah, I really like this way. Okay, so we are on to the final sketchbook, or the final main sketchbook. This was January 2020 to November 20, and I definitely didn't use this as much as I did in 2019. And I think a number of reasons for that. One was I was doing a postcard project every day, so it meant I was going outside sketching from the environment, a black and white image, and you know, that took time, so a lot of my drawing efforts was put into that. And then the second reason was the COVID. So I think, you know, it did restrict or stop me from wanting to draw out and about, and obviously you couldn't go to so many places, so it's probably the reason. Anyway, this was in January, so I went, this was at the Polpior, the Lizard Point, which is actually near where I did my residency. It's really, I really love this view. I think it's the old rustiness and then the blue of the ocean behind. I was still using my black pen again and a bit of watercolour. And this is Goonhilly, looking at the satellites. You can see how I was gradually bringing more and more of this coloured pencil in, but I feel like I wasn't quite sure what I was doing with it. It feels very scribbly here. This was at a conference just where people were singing, so I was trying to capture people, although again, looking at these, they look very hesitant drawings. Now I really like this one. I remember drawing it thinking, yeah, I really like the energy. This was at Porth Hallow, and just love the rocks. This was in the Barbara Hepworth Sculpture Garden, and I remember again really enjoying doing this and bringing more of the coloured pencil in to give me the lines and the details, matching them up with the watercolour. That one looks a little bit empty. I was in a car wash, I think, and we were just drawing. I was drawing very, very quickly. You can see, can't you, how the coloured pencil is getting used more for the textures. It's Carnbury. I think this was the last day, 17th of March, so one of the last days before we had to go into that full lockdown, that first lockdown. This was in Truro. And then this was at a Zoom meeting. So I think we had coffee mornings on Zoom, and this theme was Teddy Bear's Picnic. So this is a lady's collection of her soft toys, and I decided to try and draw them all. So I was using the Sailor fountain pen and then watercolour, but I actually really enjoyed it, and I just love all of the little faces and expressions. That was for a map. So you can see my sketchbook, I use it sometimes just to sketch ideas, and I'll show you actually the map that it became. So this was for a workshop for families. We were doing a map of our area, and I tried to keep a limited colour palette and just use watercolour and black pen. So you can see roughly there was an idea, and then I kind of did a lot more detail. This was the scene in our backyard. So I wanted to sketch outside, but didn't feel like I could actually go anywhere, so for a long period of time to sketch, so I just decided to sketch the backyard. And that was a bowl of stones that was on the table in the backyard. Just inside scenes. Zoom. Drawing people. And then, yeah, I was using this just to, again, get ideas for what I was going to teach. So I was doing a lot of insects, so these were just beetle drawings, and yeah, butterflies. That one got quite wild, but I really like it. I started with one and then just couldn't stop, so I just started adding more, and it's almost like a wallpaper. So just more beetles. Butterflies, which, yeah. Bees. Caterpillar. So as you can see, I'm not really, these don't feel very finished, these pages. Just kind of rough sketches for what I was workshopping on, what I was teaching. So these were like little animals that we were teaching. I think this was Teddy Bear's Picnic, the theme. So this was again from another Zoom class. This was a family quiz, so different members of the family. And then outside, woohoo! So that was in May. Yeah, I remember feeling very, very happy to be drawing outside again. And I'd forgotten my watercolours and my brush pen, and I just had my Intense pencils, so it just forced me to just use those, and I really like the results. And you'll see then from this point onwards I do a lot more sketches in this kind of way. So yeah, and also with a border as well. This is a little shop that sells, well, it's not a shop, it's just a little stall that someone has outside the house, and they make all sorts of flapjacks and yummy jams. So this is just the area around my house, or where I can walk to and sketch. And you may have seen this one in a recent video. Again, looking at wildflowers. So yeah, this was around my birthday, so in June. Yeah, so for my birthday in June I got a Lamy Joy Fountain Pen, and you can see that the ink is a lot darker than the Sailor fountain pen, as well as the nib being not as thick. And this was, I think, one of my favourite spreads in the sketchbook, because it kind of brought a lot of things together. The intensity of the colours that I wanted to bring out, and then the textures. So I used a mix of stuff. I was also using, I think this is the one where I started using the crayons, the Lyra colour crayons, because they were a birthday present as well. And so I had the Inktense pencils, the Lyra crayons, and the Lamy Fountain Pen, and I really enjoyed doing this. So that was on the 14th of June. And I'll show you, this is the drawing that I did from it this year. So I used that as my inspiration and drew this. That's a church in Suffolk, which I think Natasha Newton had visited because she was visiting family, and I just loved the look of all the beams. This was in Mullion Harbour, and I was just really experimenting with using this peachy light flash colour. Oh yeah, and then this was another one that I loved drawing. So this was in Cadgwith with all the boats, and they are just really lovely boats to draw. They're so colourful and quirky. And again, this I drew again. So this is the drawing. So the inspiration was that. I drew that. I really like how they feel like they're coming out of the page. And then this was another one that was done in Cadgwith, and I really enjoyed, again, doing this one. And that one inspired a couple of drawings. So this one, that actually I did in person, and then this one was drawn from that one, yeah. It was Kynance. This comes up again. And then I really like this spread actually. I just love this along here, and then colour palette, and then a few details and labelling at the top. I sometimes look back at my old sketchbooks to see how I did layouts, just to remind myself of trying different things. These were some pigs at Roskillie Farm. And these were at St Anthony's and Gillen Creek. Used the Inktense pencils and the fountain pen. Just using pencils there. Oh yeah, managed to be caught out in a downpour of rain, but I really loved all of these cows and felt I wanted to capture them. And this is my final drawing in this book. This was actually in Madrid when I was filming my Domestica course, and I decided to draw the restaurant. I was meant to actually draw the food as well, but I think I was so hungry at that point I just ate it. So it says here, delicious baked salmon and sliced potatoes presented on a beautiful plate. Unfortunately you cannot see that, but I wrote it down. Anyway, that's the end of that. And I'll show you my Domestica drawings. So as you can see, it's a very small sketchbook, but it just worked well because I didn't want to spend hours on this, but I wanted to still capture each day, and I picked, you know, a few things that I was doing, whether it was what I was eating or so this was unpacking, and then my postcard project, and this was like little things that they'd given. So, and I called it all quarantine sketches. So you've got a similar framework for each day. So I've put like the title, and then, you know, the date, and then everything else works around it. I watched a lot of films during that time, so each day almost there's a film. I was working on some Christmas stuff, food. Oh yeah, Natasha and I were recording podcasts as well, so that was good to do. These were lovely little stamps that my husband had received. Another film, my postcard. Zoom. Oh, I got to catch up with Zoom with Sandy, and then a meeting in the evening. Oh yeah, that was another film. That was day 7, so the first week of quarantine. I was also doing a lot of exercises as well, just to keep me active, because I only was in my room. I wasn't able to go out. I remember filming that, St Basil's Cathedral, listening to lots of other podcasts, Christmas. Oh yeah, I was working on an Easter calendar as well at that point. I really like these mini sketches of the postcards that I drew. They just look so cute. Day 13. Natasha and I recording another podcast. Day 14. Oh yeah, the arrival of a friend's daughter. And I think I wrote a little bit here about how it was last day of quarantine, and I did one more day of freedom, and I went and sketched the boat in Helford, and we had a night hike along the coast because I hadn't been out for 2 weeks and really miss walking. But yeah, I like this book for these little quick sketches and like a diary of those 2 weeks. It's just a nice way to record it and to have it in sketch form. Okay, so I just forgot to bring in these books. These are from Pulpeel, and if you go on my channel and find my artist residency at Pulpeel, you can watch the video where I am creating these, and then you can see a proper tour of them. So I'm just doing a very quick flick through here for you, but if you want more details on what I am drawing and being inspired by, then definitely go and take a look at that video. And to accompany this, I also have this little concertina. And again, I've got this on camera in that video. So if you again want to see more or have a look at it or hear my thoughts on the residency, then just take a look in my channel and you should find it pretty easily. So there we have it. Those are almost all of my sketchbooks from the last couple of years. I'm just thinking actually in the back of my head I have got a couple more, but they haven't quite been finished, and I can probably show them in another video. And also this video is probably already an hour long, so I don't think you'll probably want to hear much more from me at this moment. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this with me. I hope it's inspired you maybe to do some more drawing in your sketchbook, and that it's maybe given you some ideas as well of what to put in your sketchbook. I often think, you know, it's so important, just don't be precious about your sketchbooks. It's really just to get yourself drawing and observing from life, and that's what I really love about it. It kind of gives me that reason to draw what's in front of me, and then if it doesn't turn out great, then that's fine. It's just a record of where I am at that time. What you should also check out actually is an interview I did with Authentic Obsessions podcast, and I was actually talking with Margaret, the host, and also Sandy Hester, who some of you may watch her channel. She's a artist based in Nashville, Tennessee, and she also loves to keep sketchbooks, and she's got a wide variety of sketchbooks that she keeps, and we just chat about keeping sketchbooks. So if you've enjoyed this, looking inside my sketchbook, I know that you will enjoy listening to that conversation, and I'll put the link to that in the description below. If you're still watching at this point, guys, then thank you so much, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments which sketchbook or which drawings maybe that you enjoyed looking at. Let me know in the comments what you like to draw and what subject matters inspire you. I'd love to hear. So until next time, guys, keep creating, keep sketching, and I'll speak to you again very soon.